modern day life, we are running at full throttle and full speed. When we live this modern day hustle, high-paced lifestyle, self-care can't be an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and an hour in between. It's just impractical. So one simple habit I've taught is something as easy as tea time is me time. Take a moment for yourself and ask yourself, how am I doing today? What do I need to do to make today better?
There's a stigma amongst high achievers on doing self-care. Why is that?
Well, if you look...
We have Dr. Shivani Gupta. Hey, all right.
Today's guest, Dr. Shivani Gupta, blends Eastern wisdom with Western wellness. She's the founder of Fusionary Formulas and a leading educator on inflammation, holistic health, and Ayurvedic healing.
What is turmeric? Where does it come from? Where do you source it? Let's get into the details of what can it help health-wise.
Turmeric is a very powerful. We went and studied in South India, North India, West India. I went to all these Ayurvedic detox centers. And what I saw is people who truly healed themselves and then decided to move there. There were people from Germany, people from all over the world were there.
Wow.
Hundreds and thousands of non-Indians have moved here because they found this system of medicine that profoundly healing.
Wow. There is a disconnect between Western medicine and Eastern medicine. You know, when it comes to Ayurveda, what part of it is misunderstood by Western medicine?
Western medicine...
Welcome to another episode of a Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada, and as usual, we're bringing experts from all over the world to talk about health, wellness, beauty, and mindset. Today's guest, she's here in South Florida, and this is a unique expertise that she's bringing to the table. We're going to be talking about the true issues about not taking care of yourself, the true issues about inflammation. We're going to go deep and talk about turmeric, right? Some of you guys know turmeric. Some of you guys have heard of curcumin. We're going to figure out the difference today. Today, we have Dr. Shivani Gupta. Hey, all right. Amazing. Dr. Gupta, welcome to a Healthy Point of View podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to take time before we get into all the meat and potatoes of everything. And I want people to get to know who you are. Right? We always start off talking about your upbringing. You know, how did you get where you're at today? So I want to go back all the way from when you were a kid, about 5 years old.
Sure. So when I grew up in Houston, Texas, to immigrant parents who had just moved to the US. They had nothing in their pocket, just the American dream ahead of them. And thankfully, they worked really hard, made all the right decisions, and were able to build their first successful company. But what I saw growing up was they worked so hard, worked to support their families, their parents, but they sacrificed their health along the way. And growing up, we were so lucky we got to go to India every year to see my grandparents and my cousins. And every time I went to India, someone would have a serious health issue. It would be a heart attack, a stroke, a leg amputation, some serious after effect of diabetes. So my whole childhood was spent watching this unfold and thinking, why do we work so hard? We're going to sacrifice our health on the way, and then we're going to spend those last 25 years of our lives in and out of the hospitals and doing disease management.
Right.
And really suffering. And so that's kind of my viewpoint on life is let's stop the suffering and actually enjoy the last retirement years of our life. Let's not suffer for that whole end quarter.
Right. Right. A lot of people tend to focus on longevity when there's the other part, which is quality of life, the health span, right? So when you were going to India every single year for summer vacation or whatever it was, you actually, the family members there were the ones getting amputated legs and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because my family suffers from diabetes. So every parent, every grandparent, every aunt and uncle across the board had it. And so every time you'd go, someone else would have this adverse event. And luckily, my father was like, hey, guys, there's an option here. This is reversible. So he became what I call the first biohacker. And so I
Wow.
remember once his mom was diagnosed with quadruple bypass being necessary, he was like, no, we're not doing that. He flew her to the US and he built a biohacking suite in our living room. He got like a power plate, which back in the 80s, that's pretty unusual. He got that machine that had a band that would just shake you because he's like, y'all are obese. You need to lose weight. We need to address this. And he put them on green juice and vitamins. And he actually reversed Parkinson's in his dad and the quadruple bypass needing to happen in his mom. And I thought, wow, if you actually take control, really take control, completely shift lifestyle, you can reverse disease. People just typically don't want to do that work or they don't know how.
Right, right. Now, in my head, I'm over here thinking it's India, right? And I keep on thinking like Indians eat pretty healthy, all like whole foods. They do a lot of natural type of remedies, things of that nature. So, why was your family so sick in India?
Modern day life is so sedentary. Everyone, who's wealthy or successful, they sit back and they have, servants or team members or housekeepers. Everyone's like got
Mm,
8 people to run around to do things for them so they can stay sitting and just boss everyone around. That's one big issue. But secondly, when you're vegetarian and Indian, you're eating a pretty high carb diet. So even in my household, we cook Indian vegetarian. It's a lentil, a vegetable with potatoes, rice, and a tortilla.
oh wow.
And so for me, I have to build a separate like path through that. I eat salads, tofu, eggs, protein, and some of that Indian food. But in modern day life, we're not moving enough usually to process that high level of carbs.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, so there's actually a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale that I love. I believe it's called Bombay Duck Bar.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah, and they make this lamb pasanda. I love Indian food, by the way. It's just
Cool.
like it's my thing. And then my father's a vegetarian, so there's a lot of options. Like if I take him out to an Indian restaurant,
Yeah.
so that's why I'm asking about like, why are Indian people in India so unhealthy? But it makes sense. Like even in Dominican Republic, one of the things that my parents would always say is, how wealthy someone is by how big they are, right?
Correct.
The fatter they are, the chubbier they are, it looks like they're not hungry. They have enough money to eat. And here in the US, it's very interesting because you'll actually see like homeless poor people that are fat.
Right.
You go to other countries, if you're poor, you're not fat. You're like you see the ribs, right? So, all right. So I want to talk, Dr. Gupta. I want to talk about self care.
Sure.
You're a huge advocate about self care. So, how do you define self care?
I define self care as the tiny slices of your day that you take back for you. And nowadays, in modern day life, we are running at full throttle and full speed.
Right.
So many of us are entrepreneurs, we have multiple companies, or we're working full time, have kids, and lots of responsibilities. And so, when we live this modern day hustle, high paced lifestyle, self care can't be an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and an hour in between. It's just impractical. So I have taken ancient Ayurvedic wisdom from India and really brought it down into tiny slices of time that we can break down to find that peace that we need. Ayurveda's goal is to bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment.
Mm,
And so when we're trying to bring our life and our spirit and everything into alignment, it's hard to do that if we're racing at 100 miles an hour down the freeway on our iPhones trying to manage 8 things. And so one simple habit I've taught is something as easy as tea time is me time. Just
mm,
pause a couple times a day with coffee, any hot beverage, and take a moment for yourself. Use it as this anchor moment where you tune in and ask yourself, how am I doing today? What do I need to do to make today better? We know that when we're in our sympathetic nervous system, we're in fight or flight, we're causing inflammation and stress in the system. And so I took tea time as me time as like my simple way to help people pause in their corporate workday, in their regular workday. And when you sip a hot beverage, you're activating your vagus nerves or you're really diving into that parasympathetic nervous system.
right,
And so that's my way to kind of show people you can build self care in anywhere. It
right.
can be as easy as a hot beverage. It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, I like that because it gives you time to kind of self reflect as well.
Uh,
And kind of get in your mind and work on yourself, right?
exactly. So many times we're so in everything, but we're not actually present to what's happening. So I use it as a spiritual moment, an intuitive moment. And usually my intuition gives me great answers. Like, you need to cancel on that. You need to change that. You haven't structured it so you get to eat today. Like, really change what you're doing so you benefit yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, sometimes we're so in service to all of our agendas, work, business, kids, family, whatever, we forget ourselves along the
Right,
way.
right. So I love that tea time becomes your me time, right? So now I'm going to go a little bit deeper.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on meditation?
So in ancient Ayurveda, we taught that our morning routine is the key. And we involved meditation, pranayam, which is deep breathing, yoga to really move and quiet the mind for the day. And yoga is actually a sister science to Ayurveda. So for everyone who's like, I know yoga, but I don't know Ayurveda, they're essentially saying the same thing, same goals. So yeah, I mean, meditation, if most people say meditation's too hard, and that's the tough part is we are so used to having our brain go so fast. But the more we can quiet and still the mind, the better off we are.
Yeah.
And so I take it as walking meditation. I'll walk for 15 minutes in the morning, walk for 15 minutes in the evening. And it's kind of shocking the volume of, first of all, I get peace out of it, but also my whole brain kind of lights up for the day and I'm ready to go.
You walk outside or indoors?
I walk outside.
Outside.
So
That's
I'll
pretty
either
cool.
walk up and down the street, or if I don't even want to get really dressed, I'll just walk around my backyard in circles. Whatever it takes to be in nature. Ayurveda teaches nature heals all things.
Yeah.
Literally, nature is the ultimate biohack. It's the thing that will heal everything.
Yeah.
So the more I can sit in nature, move in nature, the more I know that my health will be exactly what I want it to be. And it doesn't have to be so complicated.
Right.
I think
right.
nowadays we complicate things. We're like, I have to. And then we make a big list nowadays between the cold plunging and the infrared sauna and the red light therapy. And I love the devices. I really do. And I have some of them. But in Ayurveda, we said it's free and it's easy. You just go get under nature,
Yeah.
get in the sunlight, get by some trees, get by some grass.
Yeah. And you really tap into all of those different frequencies that have their own healing properties. And you're right. Like right now, when you look at the biohacking world, there's just so many different modalities, technologies, and so many things that people start stacking where eventually it's just like now you're living on this crazy calendar. It's like, oh, I got to take this pill at this time. I got to do this. And now it becomes like this whole other stress, right? Oh, I forgot to do the cold plunge. And now, and I want you to chime in on this, but stress is stress, regardless if it's good stress or bad stress. I tell people all the time, you could be stressed out because someone died in the family,
Yeah.
right? Which is that bad stress. Or you could be stressed out because you're planning a wedding, which is a beautiful moment.
Sure.
But stress is stress. They both will kill you. So what's your opinion on that?
No, in my new book, I wrote about mental inflammation because
Mm,
I had written this whole book on inflammation and how we get so sick and we have so much pain in this world. But I thought if I don't explain this final key point, we're not going to understand that it's the mental stress causing the physical inflammation. It's our mental chatter that we never learn how to shut down that's causing our physical inflammation. We are causing the problem. And so,
right.
like you just said, we are creating so much good stress that at some point there is some line where it crosses over into bad stress. And I think about that a lot because so many of us who are into health and wellness, we're obsessed with it. I'm pretty obsessed with, okay, what are my supplements? How am I going to get great sleep? And then if I look and I'm like, you only slept 6.5 hours. What the hell? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Then that's a stress, right? So if we're
Yeah.
going to freak out or stress about health all the time, are we really creating good health?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where the ancient wisdoms and all these natural wisdoms said, look, it's actually about the balance. You're not meant to be perfect all the time. Should you do better? Yes. And I think part of where it's coming from is we're living in a pretty toxic world. And so we know that we have to like counterpose that and really battle that. But I think mental inflammation is a big problem because we are so stressed, so high stress, and that alone will cause the inflammation that'll kill
Yeah.
us.
And we going back to the meditation really helps quiet the mind, you know.
Exactly.
Now, you did mention about people saying meditation is very difficult. When I started working with my mentor, Dr. Willix, at the age of 19, one of the things that he put a lot of emphasis on is like, Sam, you have to meditate every day. He gave me this little green book. I always forget the name of it, but that little green book would teach me how to meditate. And it was just very difficult for me to do it. My mind's just nonstop. So it wasn't until I actually started doing guided meditation,
Yeah.
utilizing Brain Tap, Dr. Porter's device, where it really just took my meditation levels to the next level. So um, what's your professional opinion between guided meditation versus doing self meditation?
It's a great question. I think for the modern day person in modern day life, Insight Timer, all these apps, Brain Tap, there's so many different tools we can use to support us to meditate. And I actually think that's the perfect way to start because to set us up for self meditation and just expect us to sit quietly right off the bat is really hard. So, whenever I'm trying to re enter my own meditation practice, I'll download an app and use the app and
Right.
listen to that time. Listen to that, whether it's Insight Timer or something on Spotify or YouTube, wherever it is. And then once I've got the hang of it again, then I can go for self meditation. In the ancient wisdoms, we would want you to sit in silence and have that discipline and have that practice.
Right.
That is the ideal. But I'm all about teaching where's the simple, easy way in, and then we can work towards the ideal. We don't have to be there right off the bat.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Gupta, self care, right? We're on that topic. There's a stigma amongst high achievers on doing self care. Why is that?
Well, if you look online, there's so many great people teaching you've got to hustle. You've got to hustle to win. We've got Cody Sanchez, we've got Gary Vee, a lot of people online saying if you aren't working your day job, get home, work all night, work all weekend, go to the garage sale, sell something else. You've got to
Right.
work,
Nonstop.
nonstop work. And every time I see that content, I'm like, yeah, I'm not working hard enough. And then I go, you know what? You have a physical body. God gave you this body. It can only do so much. So you can run this into the ground. You can cause inflammation and disease. You have a whole family in front of you who's done that for many generations. Or you can recognize that self care is the anchor and the fuel from which you get to perform. And so I really use self care as like my platform. And I remember if I can be balanced, if I can reduce my inflammation, if I can exercise and move, if I can sleep, if I can practice self care that's detoxing and rejuvenating, if I can focus on a good diet, these are all fuels.
Right.
Do they take time? Yes. And when we are busy entrepreneurs or busy in our careers, is it hard? Yeah. But if we're going to sacrifice and just triple hustle all the time, we're not going to win anyway.
Right.
In the end, that health span at the very end is going to be pretty bad.
It'll catch up to you
It will.
for
And it's
sure.
catching up to people decades earlier, right? Like
Right.
before it was your 80s and 70s. Now it's your 60s, 50s, 40s. We're all hitting some walls pretty hard.
Right.
And I think of it as when we're running into a brick wall at 100 miles an hour like a freight train, why is that? I think it's because we're running into it inflamed
Right.
and we're
Right.
stressed and we're not realizing the body is showing up depleted. How is it going to perform as we're aging?
That's the truth. So, where does true healing actually begin?
I think it begins as simply as tuning into yourself. I think the intuition, I truly believe our intuition knows the answer, and we have left no space for it to communicate with us. And so the moment you allow, whether it's tea time is me time, or meditation, or collect peace in your day, or walking in nature, device free, not you can keep your phone on you, but like don't listen to a podcast, YouTube. Don't try to stuff more in all the time. Instead, allow for that quiet space. That's when your intuition gets to come out and inform you.
So, let me ask you this about the intuition. I know what intuition is, and I live by that gut feeling,
Yeah.
right? The intuition when it speaks to you. But I've ran into people who don't understand what their intuition is, right? People get it confused of, well, what is that? Is that, God talking to me? Is it the Holy Spirit within me? Is it truly the gut feeling? You know, can you give us a better explanation for someone who might be questioning, well, how do I tap into my intuition? What is the intuition?
Like I said, in Ayurveda, we always think of it as body, mind, and spirit in alignment. So we are true believers in the fact that there is a spirit here, and that spiritual journey, that evolution path that we're on towards our higher self or our God, our universe, whatever it is you connect to, that is the path that you're on. And your intuition is your gut feeling, your inner voice, your soul speaking to you and guiding you towards your next best step. And so I truly believe that the more I tune into my intuition and I use it to read, is this person good or bad? Should I make this decision, yes or no? Is this the right path? Then all of a sudden, life becomes about synchronicities.
Right.
Life becomes easier. Life becomes guided. I'll walk into an event and I'll say, please let me only meet the people I'm meant to meet and close off my energy to all others. And I'll find the most amazing people that day. But it's about, are we making that space to really tune in? And I find the healthier we make the body, mind, emotional states, like Ayurveda says, then that spiritual access or that vibrant health or those joyful states are that much easier. So to me, my intuition is that inner voice that's constantly available if I ask it. But half the time I'm too busy to listen
Right.
because the monkey mind is going 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so it's like, Wendy, can you quiet the mind just enough to allow that other voice to come through?
I like that. I like that answer. That's powerful. So Ayurveda. That's you have your PhD in Ayurveda, right?
Yep.
So your PhD. Let's talk about your educational background,
Sure.
if you can.
So I actually went to business school, undergrad, and I studied social entrepreneurship when I was in business school. And I realized there's these models for business where you create something that changes the world.
Right.
And that got me really excited. But I also grew up chronically sick. I felt like I had no immune system, and I was always looking for something to actually give me the immune system I needed so I can go build great things in the world. And that's when in college I discovered Ayurveda. And I looked at my parents and I was like, there's this thing called Ayurveda and they use spices to fix people. And can we go figure this out? And so we went on a quest through India. By then, my parents were very successful but burnt out entrepreneurs who needed to get like rejuvenated. So we went and studied in South India, North India, West India. I went to all these Ayurvedic detox centers. And what I saw is people who truly healed themselves and then decided to move there. There were people from Germany, people from all over the world were
Oh
there,
wow.
residing there. And I thought, this is interesting. Like hundreds and thousands of non-Indians have moved here because they found this system of medicine that profoundly healing.
Wow.
So I told my parents, okay, so I studied it. And then I said, I'm going to have to formally study it if I'm going to one day write books and change the world. They were like, okay, fine, if whatever you want, Shivani. And so I ended up doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences and loved it. I loved all of it. And in my herbology class, the professor started explaining all the benefits of the super spices. And I was like, if cilantro and cinnamon and fennel and cumin and ginger and turmeric can do all that, why are we not using them more? When I
Right.
go to the doctor, they're giving me NSAIDs and ibuprofen, and then my stomach hurts. So there's a mismatch here where you're saying your herbs work, but no one actually believes you and uses them. So something is up. Either you're incorrect and you guys are lying and your herbs don't do that, or you just haven't figured out how to market this well and no one utilizes it. So my PhD dissertation was on turmeric, the spice.
Mm.
And I became so passionate about turmeric after years of reading the science. Then I became this evangelist who said, okay, now I'm going to go figure out how to change the world with turmeric. I'm going to try to put this into doctors' offices so they stop managing us and our pain using just ibuprofen. There has to be a different way to do this.
And I can't wait until we get into the whole turmeric side. So Ayurveda, you went throughout all these different regions in India. So you know, there is a disconnect between Western medicine and Eastern medicine. So, when it comes to Ayurveda, what part of it is misunderstood by Western medicine?
Western medicine actually looks at all the integrative medicine and ancient medicine specialties as backwards in a sense. They look at them as ancient and not modern. They aren't proven by modern science. What's interesting is Ayurveda right now is very proven by modern science. So modern science is proving that the circadian clock is true,
Hmm.
that gut microbiome and gut health is the center of all health. That yes, we do have some sort of toxic burden in the system and we do need to address it. Maybe our liver and kidneys can't handle everything that we're trying to throw down our system. So there's a lot of things from Ayurveda that are finally being proven to be true, but I'm surrounded by doctors and they still kind of look at it as like, that's colloquial, that's ancient, that's so nice that you think that making a tea will work, but that's not validated. We need double blind placebo controlled trials to actually believe that works. And then we need all of our boards to tell us that it works and put it into our standard of care.
Wow.
And I always say, yep. So when I'm a billionaire, then I guess I will prove to you that turmeric works. And until then, you're not going to believe me.
All
So,
right.
all right. It's just interesting to watch how Western medicine thinks of things. A lot of times you have to put the proof in the pudding. You have to show them this works, you can use it.
Right.
And through testimonials, they finally get it.
Amazing. Amazing. So when we were talking about your quest into Ayurveda, you were talking about your parents, hitting a certain stage of burnout, to then try to recollect themselves and take control of their health. So when it comes to burnout, what are some of the patterns that you see with high performers when it comes to burnout?
I mean, I see it all around me. I'm surrounded by a family of them. All my friends are that way. In Ayurveda, we actually have different constitutions that we talked about, like different body types. And there's a certain body type or personality type we call pitta. It's the fiery personality. So that person is all fire all the time. And they're
Mm,
so intense, they're always going to go beating themselves against the wall trying to achieve their goal. And so it's interesting when you watch that pattern. I come from that pattern and I have that pattern.
right.
And so I think that's so much of why I teach what I teach because I need to hear it constantly. Sleep is important. Practice self care. Take your walks.
Yeah.
We oftentimes teach the medicine that we need the most. But I find nowadays people are more burnt out than ever. I think part of it is because we're so depleted as a society. We are hungry. We are starving. We are lacking total nutrition, vitamins, and minerals out of our land. So we're just running around as depleted humans. Then you add the toxic burden of modern day
Right.
lifestyle between phthalates, BPAs, microplastics, mycotoxins, like name a toxin, we are breathing it in and absorbing
Yeah.
it at a higher level than what the body can ever deal with. Then you look at food, and between processed food, seed oils, the majority of our calories are coming from processed foods as opposed to real food. So the poor body is under such a strain. And then we're wondering why we can't go 200 miles an hour. So that's why the majority of what I'm teaching is let's rebuild gut health. Let's rebuild the body. Let's give ourselves something in Ayurveda that we call ojas. Ojas is the byproduct of beautiful digestion and everything else working and being on point. And it takes work to attain that. It takes work
Right.
to have ojas and that vitality, but you can see it. When you see someone and their eyes are shining and their energy is beautiful and you're like, wow, I want some of that. That's what we call ojas, that magic
Oh,
thing.
just I love that. That's they're vibrant. They have so much the
Vitality.
vitality, vigor, they're ready to go. Their mind is sharp as a tack.
Exactly.
So now people who've been listening and watching the podcast are probably thinking like, well, what the heck is sitting on this table over here? Right. And I think this is the time that we need to get into your expertise about turmeric. And obviously coming from the functional medicine space, there's a lot of benefits that we know about turmeric,
Sure.
right? And a lot of people know about curcumin as well too. So first, I want to start off with you talking about what is turmeric? Where does it come from? Where do you source it? And then let's get into the details of what can it help, health wise.
Sure, I love turmeric. So turmeric is a rhizome. It's from the same family as ginger. And turmeric grows all across the world. We have a lot of turmeric production in India. India is one of the large producers of turmeric. Turmeric is a very powerful antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It's anti-inflammatory and it's antioxidant. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The fact that it's anti-inflammatory and impacts NF-kappa B, which is one of those main inflammatory pathways, means that it also works downstream. So it's going to impact TNF alpha, interleukin 6, interleukin 1 beta. So it's almost like it'll affect your master switches of inflammation and thus everything downstream from that, which is why it's so good as a holistic anti inflammatory.
Mm,
Then it's also antioxidant. And we know that we have this oxidative stress that's aging us like rust. So the fact that turmeric goes in there, it's like a cellular janitor. It just goes in there and cleans house, cleans up all the rust, cleans up DNA damage, cleans up zombie cells and these senescent cells that are sitting there, like kind of like old factory workers who've got to go, who are causing trouble. And turmeric comes in there like this janitor, like, let's clean up house. We have no time for extra inflammation and problems. I love that it's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. So that piece is it'll go in there and clean out any bacteria that doesn't belong,
mm,
candida, mycotoxins, anything that's a fungi that doesn't belong. Antiviral is important to me because I love immune support, but it's also very powerful for anti-aging and brain health, which I love. In the brain health category, neuroinflammation, it can impact TNF alpha, it can impact amyloid plaques and tau tangles, a lot of this accumulation of things that happen in our body that need to clear, and turmeric's going to clear it all out. It also causes neurogenesis and mitogenesis,
mm.
so new brain cells, new mitochondria. Very few things create new things in our body like turmeric in such a positive way, while leaving. So, turmeric in the bacterial sense will leave all the good gut bacteria in place while cleaning out the bad.
Okay.
Very few things clean out the bad and leave all the good. So to me, those are some of the key ways that turmeric's very beneficial. And then it's very good for an anti-aging. So senescent cells, it impacts sirtuins, impacts our telomeres as well. There's new science that's showing that. And so what most people don't know is they buy turmeric in the raw form. So this raw turmeric here, people are buying it, they're juicing it. They're like, I drink my turmeric juice every day. I throw this in my protein shake. It's awesome. The problem with raw turmeric is it's not the most potent form of turmeric. It is raw, it is beneficial. I love raw plant food. But when we take it and dry it into a spice, that's when it's more concentrated. And we
Okay.
call that kitchen culinary spice. So when people are using turmeric, like I'm Indian, it's in my food every day, or in a lot of cultures we use turmeric, it's beneficial, but make sure you add black pepper or a healthy fat
Why is that?
to increase the absorption.
Oh, the absorption.
Black pepper will increase that absorption 2000%. Healthy fat will help it cross the blood brain barrier. And so anytime we're moving into supplements, we know that and we make sure we add that.
Okay.
But in Indian cooking, we have a spice called garam masala. So we always were adding black pepper to our turmeric.
Right.
We were always cooking with ghee and butter anyway, so we have that as well.
What kind of healthy fats would someone use?
For example, coconut oil, butter, ghee. You can use tallow. Any of those are good.
Nice.
Olive oil is great.
So what is the process to create the actual seasoning of turmeric
What they
versus
do-
like the raw turmeric?
They just dry turmeric on huge trays. In India, I've seen my grandma get all my spices made for me. She's very into spices. So she'll order in everything and she'll have her team dry it out on these huge trays on the roof. And then they dry it and then they grind it.
They
into
grind it.
spices. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wow.
in Indian households, we are grinding our spices usually on a weekly basis. So
Mm,
they're fresh.
nice.
You get that taste. And then when you take the turmeric powder, out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3% of it is the curcuminoids.
Okay.
And out of those curcuminoids, curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so once we learned that that piece of the turmeric plant was the most effective, people started building supplements out of it. Then they discovered that black pepper increases that absorption. And I worked in that lab in high school at MD Anderson Cancer Center where the scientists discovered that black pepper increased that absorption. I had no idea that 20 years, 30 years later, I'd build something out of turmeric. So
Wow.
that idea is very important because a lot of times nowadays you'll see supplements and they'll just say curcuma longa, which is the plant name for turmeric.
Okay.
So they're giving you regular kitchen turmeric powder and stuffing it in a pill and charging you for it when it's just the regular spice. It's not the extracts. And then when it comes to those extracts, you can actually order supplements with a lot more potency that hit the 95% grade standard and really extract in a beautiful way to mimic Mother Nature.
Wow. So let me ask you this. Are most curcumin supplement products, do they have black pepper or healthy fats inside of them?
Most do, because
They
most
do.
get it. Some don't,
Okay.
and that kind of shocks me. I'm like,
Huh.
what are you using for absorption, guys?
Because I've seen like liquid capsules of curcumin, but I until today on this podcast, I didn't really know about the black pepper thing. I take curcumin every single day. I currently take a Solgar's product,
Okay, cool.
but I don't know if it has the black pepper, which maybe I'll start taking your product after this, right?
I'm
That's
sure
probably what I need to do.
Yeah, I'm sure it has something for absorption because it's sold at Whole Foods and these better stores. But we know nowadays that most of the supplements sold at the big box retailers on their shelves don't have the active ingredients at the level that they say.
Right.
The Wall Street Journal did that study years ago where they pulled products off the shelves and investigated them. And I remember when that study came out, I was so upset. If I buy a vitamin D, I need it to be
Right.
vitamin D at the level I think I am taking it at. And so that's what really inspired me. And I thought if we could create supplements we trusted, maybe doctors would trust them.
Yeah.
And so that's where I can never know if someone's doing it right. That's why I try to go meet the founders. I'm like, who are you? Did you sell your
Yeah.
company to a multi-level conglomerate, multinational company that doesn't care about us? Like, who's making this and why?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
is so important.
So what are some of the other ways that consumers can validate the product that they're purchasing?
You know, on the label, people will put things like third party tested. Sometimes people will share the third party results, which I think is important. Nowadays in supplements, the consumer is getting smarter. The consumer knows that there's this option of third party validation.
Right.
And so it's good to be on the front of that. So in our case, we are third party tested pre, mid, and post production.
Okay.
You can also look for, certification labels on those labels. Is it made in the US? I make my product in the US because well, I want to have control over production, and I want liability there where I have a way to go after someone if they don't do the right thing.
Right.
So we have control. We can fly in, we can watch, we can meet them and face them face to face and say, hey, we're about to go into production together. I need assurances that exactly what I ordered from exactly my suppliers is what we're going to use here.
Absolutely.
Um,
So you're mentioning that only, correct me if I'm wrong, 3% of the turmeric is the actual curcumin, right?
exactly.
So when I purchase an actual curcumin capsule, is that synthetically made?
We are extracting it out of that plant. Yeah. We are going to
Okay.
use those methods to get it out of it. But that's that extract we're pulling out, the most potent part. In my case, when I formulated a decade ago, I put curcumin extract with turmeric powder to bring that synergy back in
Back in.
of
Okay.
extract with whole plant
Yeah.
so that you could have that mother nature effect of bringing you the solution.
So for a typical healthy individual that's looking just to like really supplement their health, right, with curcumin, what's the typical dosage that you recommend?
Dosage is typically 500 milligrams twice a day. We have seen that in so much of the literature to be effective. And we have over 100 registered clinical trials on humans using curcumin. So there's so much good science. And what I found interesting in the science was we know now that 1 in 5 Americans are suffering with chronic pain. We know that 5% of the world is made up of us in America. Only 5% of the world's population is here. And we're using over 90% of the world's opioids, between 80 to 90%.
Uh,
And so we're having a moment where if you just pause and look at it, the question should be why, as Americans, are we so obese? Why are we so inflamed? Why are we suffering with chronic pain at the level we are? And then why are we reaching for opioids and painkillers like it's candy?
right.
And so that's what really opened my eyes to okay, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to change this trajectory? And that's where I think plant medicine from ancient Ayurveda or any of the holistic systems is so powerful. Whether you reach for turmeric, reach for ginger, reach for something, but start building the habit of dealing with your pain in a more natural way because the punishment of opioids and opioid addiction is just too great.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to curcumin or turmeric, whatever we want to say right now, well, I'm going to stick with curcumin.
Sure.
Um, I've noticed that in the functional integrative medicine space, that curcumin's being utilized to treat a lot of different things.
For
I
sure.
mean, I see it as a supportive treatment for cancer,
Yep.
treatment for autoimmune issues that people are having. How is the curcumin working in one's body that these physicians are utilizing it for, like cancer or autoimmune diseases?
You know, when it comes to autoimmune, we have a lot of clinical trials. For RA, we've shown that it's as effective as a lot of the medications being used for RA. Same with OA, osteoarthritis. What we're seeing is because it impacts those top level pathways of inflammation, it's also affecting so many others. The way I've seen it work in people is if you have a big problem, a big pain, maybe it's like hip pain, back pain, something like that, it goes after that first. Then it goes after the medium sized problems. Then it goes after the small problems. It has this natural intelligence to it. It's adaptogenic. Once you put it into the system, the body knows where to take it and take it where it needs to go.
Okay.
And then, like we discussed, the fact that it's the ultimate janitor, it'll go in there and it'll cause healing, like DNA repair, cellular membrane repair, getting rid of what doesn't belong, junk in the body, malignant cells, senescent cells, zombie cells. The fact that it can go in there and say, hey, this stuff doesn't belong here, I'm taking it out. That stuff still belongs there, I'll keep it in. That's really powerful.
Yeah, it is. Is there anyone that should stay away from curcumin?
Yes, so curcumin is a blood thinner. It's a vasodilator in the
Mm.
system. So because it can have that blood thinning effect, anyone on a blood thinner is not recommended to take turmeric.
Be interesting if people that haven't got to that point where they need blood thinners, if they take curcumin, maybe it can fix their issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, anyone on warfarin, I tell my doctors not to use it. So it just depends on the doctor and their comfort level.
Right, right. So, I've seen, I'm big into the vitamin IV therapy world, obviously. And I've seen curcumin being administered intravenously now. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it. I don't know much about it. I've heard good and bad things. I think it's mostly good. I'm actually a huge fan of IV vitamins. I recommend them all the time. Whenever I have a client come to me who has a really obscure or difficult issue and nothing has worked, and if turmeric doesn't work, I'm like, oh, I know the solution. You need to rebuild the whole system and let the system heal itself. And it's a multi-dimensional approach. Let's just take you for IV vitamins. And I've been to Liquivita centers and we'll do IV vitamins together. I'm like, I could always use more vitamins and minerals in my system. So I have found it to be wonderful. I have not tried curcumin IVs yet,
Right.
but I've heard that people who really need it have used it and found great relief.
Yeah. And you got to think the bioavailability of it at that point is just, it's going straight into the cellular level, right? So that's going to be very interesting to see what's happening. I'd like to see some of the, the research on it, as it starts to develop. So, so what else are people seeing as a benefit by utilizing turmeric?
I would say the number one reason people take turmeric is pain. When they have pain, they want a solution. They know if they're going to take long term ibuprofen and NSAIDs, there could be side effects for them. They don't want those side effects. And we have enough science that shows that curcumin's equivalent, but without the side effects and without those safety issues that happen. That's number one. I would say the number two is immune support. A lot of people tell me I travel for business and I just don't want to get sick all the time. They take it as that immune defense shield.
Right.
Number three would be autoimmune patients who are like, look, I don't want to take big biologics and things like that. That's expensive and it's a big commitment. So I need a more natural toolkit approach to my autoimmune condition. So they use curcumin. So those are probably the top three. And then I'd say the fourth is the preventive crowd. The one who just understands that we are all inflamed as a society right now. We are all going to be battling different things. For me, I'm in a year of mycotoxins. That's the year I'm in where it's like, okay, discovered mold, have to heal that. Or it could be microplastic, it could be any burden in your body.
Right.
But the fact that curcumin can just simmer down that chronic low grade inflammation is a big deal. And we know statistically in the United States that about 129 million people are suffering with at least one chronic inflammatory issue. And that's a large portion of our population. They say 36.4% of us have low grade chronic inflammation. That's a big deal. Over a third of us are running around with chronic inflammation, and we know what the end game of that looks like. The end game is chronic inflammatory diseases, heart attacks, heart disease, diabetes, all those issues. And so to me, I see a large population saying, what am I going to take every day to win at inflammation?
Right.
Where am I going to address this in my lifestyle? So I always teach a lot about sleep, diet, gut health, self-care, movement. Like let's build the lifestyle. And then when you need it, also use turmeric as an adjunct solution with that.
Yeah. Dr. Gupta, you've used the word inflammation quite a bit throughout this podcast episode. And I think it's important for the viewers and listeners of the podcast to understand the difference between acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. So they really can understand on a scientific level, based off your professional experience, what inflammation truly is.
Sure. So acute inflammation is when you hurt yourself, typically. You're going to have redness, you're going to have swelling. Your body is sending a healing response to what's happening. That's like if I've hurt my elbow, all of a sudden it's going to be hurting. It's going to have that pain and inflammation going on. Redness, heat, swelling is all indications. Unfortunately, nowadays, our body is dealing with so many different things at once. Maybe it's poor diet. Maybe it's leaky gut or poor gut health. Maybe it's high levels of stress, poor sleep. A lot of us take that acute inflammation and instead of the body just healing it and saying, okay, we're done, her elbow's healed, we're good to go, we end up generating this chronic, low-grade, persistent inflammation. And it's like a forest fire in the body, and we are literally not hearing the fire alarms. Fire alarms are going off. You were a firefighter, so you know all about this topic, right? And it's the body is just asking, hey, give me a fire extinguisher. I want to put this out. I want to be done with it. But we're continuing on with our existing lifestyle, not realizing that we are just propagating that inflammation. It's just getting more and more, worse and worse until our 40s when we say, okay, I am tired. I've got joint pain. I'm gaining weight. I've got brain fog. I've got fatigue. I eat things and it doesn't suit me. I've got bloating and digestive issues. What is that? I guess I'm just aging. And I tell all my friends, you are not aging. It's inflammaging. This is
Right.
inflammation and you believe it's aging, and you need to reverse the inflammation and you'll see you're not aging.
Right.
So that's my key message to people is the minute you have that thought, God, this must be aging, pause and go look at what just changed in your lifestyle that could be causing this issue.
Now, you just explained the difference between acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Now, how does inflammation correlate with oxidative stress?
Yeah, so the problem is simultaneously, we have this rusting in the system. We have this oxidative stress that's contributing to the inflammation as well. And most of us underestimate the number of things that are causing oxidative stress. Could be getting on a plane, travel, could be any foreign. I always think of it as like anything that's foreign to the body is going to cause the body to react with stress. So whether it is microplastics in a tea bag, which is an example, or whether it's any foreign ingredient that we consume, could be UV light, could be cigarette smoke, could be environmental toxins, air quality, water quality, any number of things could cause the body to say, hey, I don't know what that is. I'm going to react. And so, yes, a really addressing reactive oxidative species and oxidative stress on the system is important as well when we talk about inflammation.
Right. Right. Now, as people start aging, people go through a lot of hormonal changes. Everything that you're doing, specifically with the turmeric and the turmeric curcumin, how does that have an effect with someone who's going through these hormonal changes, like going through perimenopause or menopause itself?
I'm 45, so I'm right in the middle of perimenopause, and it's been fascinating to watch how much it drives myself and all my friends nuts. And we're all like, what is this? Where did our brains go? Where did our energy go? And so the minute I started feeling the symptoms stack up, I thought, wow, if we enter each half decade or decade of our lives inflamed, no wonder the body is lacking resilience or resources to go and then balance our hormones because we're already walking in distracted. The body's already on fire. It's already battling with that fire while the lymphatic system is clogged up. So it's like this perfect intersection between lymphatic system and inflammation. The body's like, I have no time to now transition your hormone health and support you.
Right.
I can't do that too. And so I think it's so important that we address inflammation consistently, but also get help that we need. So Ayurveda as a lifestyle teaches us to honor sleep, honor our circadian clock, honor gut health, really build self-care. And truly, I think it's a lifestyle built for all seasons, but most especially perimenopause and menopause.
Right.
And then I do see a powerful role for turmeric in women's health because we have the science on it for PCOS, endometriosis, hormone support of the entire system, menopause as well. So I think it has a very powerful role all the way through.
So, Dr. Gupta, we talked about all of this inflammation and how turmeric works. What are some other things that people can do to really reduce inflammation in their body?
Number one is obsess over sleep. Like make sleep a priority in your life. Focus on that 8 hours, 7 hours, whatever your body needs. In Ayurveda, we teach that 10 to 2 on the circadian clock is actually the most important time to sleep. And most of us push sleep really far. Fitbit actually had a statistic that the average American sleeps at 11:02 p.m. That's the average time
Oh, wow.
overall. And when I saw that, I was horrified. That means half of us are sleeping past midnight if that's the average of all sleep. So when you look at sleep, sleep is when we're going to clear inflammation. And 10 to 2 on the circadian clock is when we teach that the fires come out to clear the lymphatic system, clear the glymphatic system in the brain. And there's a statistic that up to 3 pounds of waste is collected in our glymphatic system all throughout the year.
Wow.
So imagine if you never sleep before midnight because you're always too busy doing all the hustles and work that we try to do, and you're accumulating pounds of waste in your brain all year and then wondering, why can't I think the way I wanted to think? Why can't I focus? Why can't I hold information the same way? And so it all ties back to, are we honoring nature's rhythm? Nature's rhythm is the defining rhythm that creates phenomenal health. And when we skip over it, we just think we can completely defy it.
Mm.
That's when we create dis-ease in the system. So it's sleep, it's focused on gut health, it's focusing on a beautiful, nutritious diet, anti-inflammatory diet, full of those antioxidant rich foods. Anything vibrant and rainbow colored usually has those oxidation supports we want, like blueberries is a very beautiful example. anything purple, beets. These are all antioxidant rich foods. And then we also talk about self care, which we started with. Bring in the rhythm of self care to create peace and quiet in your day, and just the decompression out of our sympathetic, stressed out nervous system into parasympathetic is how we're going to rest, digest, and heal. That's a
Okay.
key piece.
So, I learned just yesterday, I was at a lunch in Mar-a-Lago, and Ella DeVore, who's a registered dietitian, she put the whole lunch with a bunch of longevity experts. And I just learned that the berry that has the highest amount of antioxidants, do you know which one it is?
Is it amla?
No, it's cranberry. I had
Really?
no clue of that,
Okay.
so I just learned that yesterday, and that it
Interesting.
has zero sugar. So I've never been a cranberry fan,
Yeah.
but I think I'm gonna start eating cranberries.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
at the holidays, we have cranberries,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's interesting. Mother Nature gives us exactly what we need at each season. That's a key piece of wisdom out of Ayurveda. So summer foods are cooling and winter foods are warming. So it makes sense. Cranberry always comes out in the winter time and we have no sunlight. We are in the cold. We are in cold and flu season. We're indoors more. So it makes sense that such an antioxidant rich, beautiful red berry comes out to play
Yeah,
in the holidays.
absolutely. Doc, what are some of the small habits with big health returns that you know of?
I would say number one is sleep hygiene rituals. In Ayurveda, we taught that if you'll pause at the end of your day and create a space between your day and bedtime, you're going to create enough space to bring in a couple of those self care habits that'll increase the quality of your sleep and the return on your sleep. So
Okay,
we teach about little things like dry brushing or legs up the wall, anything you can do that'll move the lymphatic system because during our sleep, we want to clear the lymphatic system.
right.
That's a big one. Another one is community. We teach a lot about having tea together and hanging out and families being
And
together.
that's a problem with all these cell phones and devices. People are like, so they stop doing the whole community stuff. And COVID
Exactly.
was not too good for community either.
Exactly. And so, kind of bringing back that piece, I think, is so important because it's enriching. It makes us present to each other and
Right.
love and support each other. I think it's a big one that we forget sometimes. Another big one would be when you sit down to eat and
Mm,
don't eat standing, don't eat in a rush, don't eat in your meetings and on phone calls, which a lot of us tend to do. We're busy or we're on our phone when we eat. So we're fully distracted by the content in front of us
right.
instead of being present to someone grew this food, someone made this food, I'm about to sit and eat it. And then afterwards, we're hungry. We feel empty because our body doesn't even know what we just did. We
Right.
just shoveled it in, didn't chew it enough, and weren't present to it.
Yeah.
And so Ayurveda really teaches that it's important when you eat. It's almost more important when you eat and how you eat than what you eat. Because what you eat, you're going to eat what you're going to eat. A lot of us are eating a certain trend. Some people are carnivore, some are vegan, some are in between. It's really more about eat something nutritious and good, but actually pay attention to it
Right.
and receive it.
Absolutely. What are for this is you personally, what are your three non-negotiables when it comes
Mm.
to your health?
Number one, I must sleep or you don't want to know me.
You use sleep data?
I do. I have the Aura ring, so I use it at times, but I don't use it all year
Okay.
because I'll get like, first of all, I don't want a device on myself 24/7.
Right.
It doesn't fit with my value system to be tracked on a device 24/7 and have like signals coming at my physical body. But I will use one every once in a while. Like right now, I can tell my sleep is off. I'll use it for a week just to tune back into what is it I'm doing wrong that's causing the issue.
Absolutely.
And then I would say my second non negotiable for me is tea time is me time. I carry a high volume of tea with me everywhere at all times because if I can have my tea a couple times a day, that's my tune in moment to know how am I doing today and what do I need to shift. And I'm a pretty big tea addict. And then I would say my number three is supplements. I take a lot of good supplements. I know for a fact my diet is not going to give me what I need. I can't trust it to, even though I try pretty hard to eat pretty well. I don't trust that my diet can give me the vitamins, nutrition, minerals I need. So I take a good amount of good supplements.
Nice. Supplements. Sleep, me time with the tea time. Tea time gives you the me time, and then supplements. I like that. Um, so I want to go into something and tap into you personally on this one as well. What is a health belief you'd rewrite today for the future?
I would rewrite the health belief that we have to sacrifice health in the short term to have abundance and success in the long run. That belief is so deeply ingrained in us as a society. It's deeply ingrained in my family. It's deeply ingrained in my own household still. And I have to work hard to remember, you know what? Life is long and you want to show up each decade with good health. That means you have to redefine abundance. You have to redefine success. Success is not just money in the bank. It's
Right.
not just the size of your house or how nice your car is. Here in South Florida, we're really into all these nice things and these outward appearance things, but what is actually happening on the inside? Are you rotting on the inside? Are you inflamed on the inside? Are you
Yeah.
disastrously sick? And you see that so much today in society. People are like, oh, yeah, I got diagnosed with X, Y, or Z. If one out of two people are getting cancer, one out of three people, chronic inflammatory diseases, what's the point?
Yeah.
And so I really have to self talk to myself and say, please redefine success. We cannot work all day, get home, work all afternoon, break, eat dinner, work all evening, and then go running at bedtime and expect good sleep.
Right.
It's not going to happen. We have to build those decompression breaks for body, mind, and spirit, and then show up to bed ready for real
Yeah.
quality sleep, which is when we recharge.
As an entrepreneur, especially following a lot of these other very influential entrepreneurs, they always talk about, to be a successful entrepreneur, there are things that you have to sacrifice. But obviously, being in the health and wellness space, the one thing we should not sacrifice is our health. Now, with understanding that there are certain things that we potentially will sacrifice to be able to grow our business, allocate the time that we need to our business, what are some of those things that people will potentially sacrifice for that, not their health, right?
Yeah.
We're going to stay with the health has to be priority, but what are some of the other things that people might sacrifice?
Family, quality family time. It's easy to give to sacrifice on that one, I would say. We sacrifice on community, our own time. I'm like talking about myself. I sacrifice time with my own children because I want to work more. Or like with our friends, which is how we refill our cup. So my own friends have to text me and be like, hey, we haven't seen you in months. Hi, can we get together? Can we hang out? So I think it's a lot of the things that fill our own cup that we sacrifice. Maybe it's eating well because it's really about speed and efficiency. In certain seasons, like I'm in a book tour, I will just eat salad, eggs, and that's what I eat all day. We're giving up variety, we're giving up nutrient density, we're giving up those things. And so to myself, I have to remind myself, no, no, no. The whole point of this is to teach health, so you better take care of your health.
Right.
So yeah, I
Absolutely.
would say community, family, the things we love most, we're willing to sacrifice sometimes. And why? Why do we do that to
Yeah,
ourselves?
I agree with you on that. So, Dr. Gupta, there's a huge movement that's going on right now, the Maha movement, right? Make America Healthy Again. I want to hear your views on the Maha movement. What do you think about it?
I love it and I'm confused. And I think so many of my colleagues feel that way. It's easy to look at it from the health perspective and say, "I agree with this. Thank you. Thank you for finally making it okay to talk about how bad food dyes are and pesticides, big food, the way we're poisoning ourselves." Like
Right.
we all knew this in the integrative medicine space over the last 20 years. Anytime anyone in integrative medicine saw me since I was a child, they would say, you need to change. And they would explain all these things we needed to give up out of the modern day diet. So, all of that to me is easy. I think it's like easy to agree with. And then I think the larger political stuff that's happening that's so fractious and confusing, that part to me makes it hard to be perfectly aligned.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that's the part that makes it very difficult for a lot of people to be aligned, um, because it has been politicized so much, right? Where it should be like nonpartisan.
Yeah.
When we talk about health. So it's interesting kind of hearing everybody's different perspectives on it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a big part of the Maha movement. And as I mentioned to you backstage, I have a lot of family that's on the liberal side. So I'll post something like a picture with Bobby Kennedy, and then all of a sudden I'm getting heat, like if I did something wrong. And anyone who knows me truly, they understand what my heart is true to, which is really changing the course of medicine and helping people take control of their health. So, you know, um, but we just got to follow our passion and do what's right
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So, you have your book here that's releasing very soon, right? It's the inflammation code. So, which today we talked a lot about inflammation. We talk about different things that can really help with inflammation. So, what's the truth behind your book?
I wrote this book because I truly feel like as a society, we are so inflamed. We're on this train towards inflammation and destruction. And the codes, the solutions, the unlocks, the lifestyle is right in front of us and it's free. So, my mission is just to show everyone you can easily adopt this lifestyle. I can show you how Ayurveda talks about sleep, diet, gut health, self care, building a mindful medicine chest, which is just reaching into super spices in your own life for your own benefit. They're so antioxidant and anti inflammatory in nature. There are so many easy ways to build a lifestyle that aligns to nature. And once you build that rhythm for yourself, it's easy. You
Right.
just have to maintain it. And when you get off track, you can tell you don't feel as great. And then it's easy to get back on track.
Yeah.
So that's my dream is just we understand inflammation. We know when we're inflamed and going down the wrong path. And we learn how to get right back onto one that's beneficial for us, customized to our own body, our own constitution, our own elements that make us up.
Amazing. I can't wait until the book comes out. You know, if you have a book launch, I want to be there.
Awesome.
So, and we'll get the word out about that because that book is going to change the trajectory of many people's health.
Thank
So,
you.
now, Doc, what we're going to do now, we're going to have a little fun here. So, one of my favorite podcasters, Stephen Bartlett, with the Diary of a CEO,
Yeah.
he came out with these conversation cards. Um,
I love his
yeah,
podcast.
his podcast is great. So, what I want you to do is just you're going to open this up, grab a couple cards from anywhere in the
Okay.
deck, and then you're going to read what's on the card and answer it.
All right. Can't lie. I have to keep I have to keep the one I get on top. Oof. What is an inadequacy you admit to that you could work on starting tomorrow? So many.
Only one.
Only one. I would say whenever life gets busy, I will literally push everything out of my life, including for myself sleep. And so the first thing I have to bring back into online is sleep for myself.
Mm.
So I just went through a couple weeks of mold remediation and work and I found myself sleeping at 11:30. And I was like, "What are you doing? You can't deal with stress by sleeping later. You deal with stress by sleeping earlier." And so really putting that back in place is kind of always my homework. Is
Right.
honoring sleep instead of because for me, if I ever have my laptop open after 8 o'clock, my mind will just keep going. Like I'll keep
I can
working
see that.
and
That
working.
happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, we got so late. What am I going to do? I have to go to bed now. So that's one for me. You have one last piece of work to do. What is that piece of work and why?
Ooh.
What a profound question. In my lifetime, my dream, my biggest dream is for all of orthopedic medicine and all of Western medicine, when they say you have something itis or you have pain, to also say you can take turmeric for that. And that is actually a huge dream of mine. I really do think it'll take me till the end of my life to win at that one, but it is my biggest dream is to really show Western medicine they could offer a natural solution all day. And
Right.
it's taking longer than I thought because I'm a decade in, but I will get there.
You'll get there for
Yeah.
sure.
And then the next one says, when you're near the end of your life and looking back over it, what will you be proudest of and what will you regret the most? I think I'll be proud that I raised centered, grounded children. My children are pretty magical. And despite the fact that I've been a pretty busy entrepreneur raising them, they're happy, grounded, kind people. And that's always my hope is I've raised good people on this planet,
Nice.
good change makers. And then what will I regret the most? I'll probably regret the fact that I rarely have fun. Like I spend my whole year working so hard and I take about 3 weeks off at this point. I'll run to Italy or wherever I can to take a break. And I will probably look back and say, you could have done so much more. You could have taken every summer off and gone to Europe. You could have done anything. I'm a Sagittarius, so there's a big part of my being that just wants to travel and be wild and roam the earth. And I don't ever allow myself that because I've got these dreams and these visions that I'm going to
You're a
execute.
Sagittarius, so you
Yeah.
got a birthday coming up here.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
All right.
And so I just want to travel, go to India, go to Italy, have fun. And instead, I'm like, no, I have to work more. So that's probably my biggest regret that I will have.
Awesome. So I'm an Aquarius, so I get along with Sagittarius quite a bit.
Nice.
So, um, Doc, if there's one person listening to this podcast that really resonates with today's message, what is one thing you can lead them off with?
Mm. Honor sleep. Like it's the most important sleep habit, most important anti-inflammatory habit you have. If you honor sleep first, gift yourself good quality sleep. Not just sleep that's okay or sleep that's fine. You build a sleep ritual for yourself. Have some tea. Ease into bedtime. Treat yourself like a little baby. When we have little babies, we dim the lights, close the blinds, use essential oils, do a massage on them, give them a bath, read them a book, and then put them to bed. So start to think about yourself like you deserve that kind of sleep hygiene ritual, and you'll see a huge difference.
I like that. Take it back to the baby days.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, I really love that.
Yeah.
I want to be treated like a baby.
Exactly.
That's it. So, Doc, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
So my website is my name, shivanigupta.com. And on it, I have my master classes, my podcast, my guides, everything is there. And then the book is at theinflammationcode.com. And then the turmeric supplements and everything is fusionaryformulas.com.
Fantastic. Dr. Gupta, it was a pleasure having you on a Healthy Point of View podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. And I made a special code for your audience. AHPOV at Fusionary Formulas will give them 15% off.
Awesome. Which we'll have all that information down below with all the links. And I appreciate you giving our audience a discount.
Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, you heard it from Dr. Gupta. Inflammation can really become the true killer, right? It's inflammation. Don't be a product to inflammation, right? There's so many things you could do. Make sleep a priority. There's a lot of natural things you can do. Don't wait until the point that you need to be put on some kind of chemical drug to fix your problem. Guys, this podcast here can benefit someone who's closest to you. So make sure you share to your friends and family. Make sure you subscribe, like, do all that fun stuff, and we'll see you for the next one.